bunch of us are out.
All games are rigged.
Made you think, didn't it?
Yeah.
Check. I'm all in.
Well, I want to welcome those of you watching at church online at one of our campuses or on TV. We are pumped that you're joining us right now as well. Also want to welcome our Make War guys back from their youth retreat. Pumped you guys are here sitting up front. It's awesome. Good to see you guys. I know you guys had an awesome weekend. And we've been in the middle of a series called All In. Over the last couple of weeks, we've been talking about what it looks like to go all in with Jesus. Like as followers of Jesus, what does it look like to be all in with Jesus? And today, next week, we're going to be talking about what it looks like to go all in with his church. Because if you're going to be all in with Jesus, then you have to be all in with his church. Just north of San Francisco, there's a forest that has some massive sequoia trees in it, okay? And these trees are known to be like the largest living things on the earth. They grow to be 250 feet tall. Some of them have been around, the largest ones since like the Roman Empire, like 1,500 years ago. That's how long these trees can last. And if you're like me, you're kind of thinking, well, how do these trees last so long? Like, how do they get so big? It must be because their roots go so far down deep into the earth that it's able to hold them up and to keep them steady, to keep them strong. But that's actually not the case. You see, the roots of a sequoia tree only go down 4 feet. 4 feet, that's it. So how in the world do they stay up? How do they stay strong? Well, sequoia trees, as you can tell, grow in groves. They grow with other sequoias around them. And so even though their roots only go down 4 feet, they start to intermingle with the roots of other sequoia trees, and then they keep each other strong. They're surrounded with other sequoias that keep each other strong. So that's how they're able to stand the test of time and withstand the wind and the weather, even though they're 250 feet tall. It's because they're surrounded with other sequoias. You see, no sequoia tree grows alone. Did you know the Bible says that God created every one of us to do the Christian life in community, with other followers of Jesus that are surrounding us, that are circled around us, supporting us and keeping us strong? That's the way you were designed to do the Christian life, because God made you that way, to do the Christian life in community. You see, being all in with Jesus' church means that you're connected with other followers of Jesus. You're depending upon each other to grow in your relationship with Jesus and stay on the Jesus mission. That's what it looks like to do the Christian life in community. No Christian can do it alone. No follower of Jesus can do the Christian life on their own. You might be thinking, well, great, man, I go to church. That's what I'm here for. That's what I attend church for. But here's the problem with that. Church is actually not something you go to. The Bible's clear. Church is not a building. It's not a service or something that you attend or can go to. In fact, the church, the Bible says, is a people. It's a people that are depending on each other to grow spiritually, to look more like Jesus, and to stay on the Jesus mission. Church isn't a building. It's not a place that you go to. It's a people. Now, when I was growing up here in town, here in Lubbock, I went to a lot of great churches. And this one church in particular, I spent most of my time in middle school and high school and college at, but when I was in middle school, I was really involved in this church. And me and my friends and my brothers would go and we would sit by ourselves in the back of the church. I don't know why my parents let us do this, but they did. And so we would sit at the back of the church all together. And here's what we began to figure out. We could take these chairs that were back in the back of the church that had metal legs, and at the bottom of these legs, there were little plastic things that were on the bottom of the chair legs to keep it from scratching the ground. We figured out you could take those out of the chairs, and we could thump them at each other. and fast. Like you could thump it so fast it would hurt. And we got really good at it because we spent a lot of time doing this, like week after week, hour after hour at church. We got really good at this. We could thump these things really fast. And so we would have wars in the back of the church. Like church is going on, everybody else is singing, everybody else is listening to the message, and we're back there thumping these things at each other and having an awesome time. Like church was great for us because we went and had war. That was what we did. So here's what we began to figure out though. We could take these things because we got so accurate with them and we could thump them so far, and we could thump them up literally to the front of the church. Like we could hit people on the front rows and them trying to figure out what was going on. And then we had this idea, maybe we could hit the pastor. Like while he's talking, we could thump one and just hit the pastor. Wouldn't that be awesome? And we were never brave enough to do that, but we definitely talked about it and like dreamed about what it would be like to hit the pastor with one of these plastic things. You see, I wasn't always a pastor, okay? All right? I was a rebel too one time. One of the other things that we did, we noticed that, man, we had so much fun, like scheming and doing all these things at church. Again, that's why I said, like, my parents were crazy to let us sit by ourselves. So we saw this group of people, like, exiting out this one door, like, all the time. Like, they were in a hurry to try to beat all the other church people to church, you know, or to lunch, rather. And so they're hurrying out the door, and we began to notice, like, man, they're trying to get to their cars. They're in a hurry, and so we got a great idea. We thought, oh, we're going to leave out the back of the church, go around to the other side, and tie the door shut. So then sure enough, church gets done. We come back around, we're watching the whole thing unfold, just thinking, man, we are so smart, this is gonna be hilarious. And so all these people, sure enough, come rushing out, trying to get to their cars, going out this door. And the first guy, man, he just walks to the door, smash, just right into his face. And we died laughing, like it was hilarious. And then all these other people just they don't know the door's locked, it's shut. And so they're just all coming up against him. And there's this crowd, they're like all getting like smashed into this door. And we are dying, like we are losing it. So guys, you better be careful. There's some kids here in this room, okay? You better be careful as you're leaving today. I may have just given them some ideas. And in case, just real quick, in case you're a kid in here and you're getting some ideas about something you can do in church, okay, we've got cameras everywhere, all right? And we've got a security team. They will take you out. No, I'm just kidding, but seriously though. Now, I know some of you are like, but Clayton, listen, I don't go to church and do that stupid stuff. Like, I'm not an idiot like you. I go to church and I listen, like to grow spiritually. But here's what we want you to know. You see, a lot of people think, well, isn't it like sufficient just to attend church and to go to the building and to sit in my row? And maybe I even have Christian friends. I've got Christian friends here with me on my row that I know. Isn't that sufficient, like to just attend and go to church this 1 hour a week? And we would say, no, it's not. It's not sufficient for spiritual growth. And I want to explain to you why. Because you don't grow in a row. It's easy to remember. It rhymes. You can write it down. You don't grow in a row. You learn in a row, which is great, and you need to do that. That's why we come here. You learn in a row. You can be inspired in a row, but you don't grow in a row. You see, James chapter 1 is clear that we don't grow spiritually because we hear things or because we're inspired. We don't grow spiritually when we hear or when we listen. We grow spiritually when we do, when we live out the things that we're talking about. So you don't grow in a row. You learn in a row. You grow in a circle with other followers of Jesus that you're connected to, that you're becoming more like Jesus with, and that you're staying committed to accomplishing the Jesus mission with. You grow in a circle, like in a small group. We call them life transformation groups. And I want to take a second and talk about why circles are so important. Like, what's so special about a circle? Why do we need to be involved in a circle, in a group? Why is attending church and sitting in a row not sufficient? Well, number one, it's because we grow spiritually together. Like I was saying, we grow spiritually together. It's the way that we grow. It's the way that you were designed to do the Christian life. It's the way that you were designed to grow spiritually, is together. Check this out. This is Acts 2, starting in verse 42. It says this: all the believers devoted themselves Like together, they're devoting themselves to the apostles' teaching, like to the Bible, to fellowship, to like hanging out together, sharing in meals, eating together, into prayer. They're doing these things together, and clearly they're eating together, they're hanging out together, they're doing this in homes. When you continue to read in Acts chapter 2, it says they're meeting from house to house, like they're meeting in large groups, but they're also meeting in small groups, like in circles where they're devoting themselves together to spiritual growth, to reading the Bible together, to praying together, to eating together, hanging out together, getting to know each other. That's what it looks like to grow spiritually, and that's what we do in our groups, life transformation groups. We're reading the Bible together, we're praying together, we're getting to know each other. We're devoting ourselves together to spiritual growth, to living out these things that we're talking about. Now, Lifeway Research did a study here in the last year or so, and they were polling Christians like to figure out who was reading their Bible outside of church. Check this out. Of the people they polled that were not in a group, 27% of those people said they read their Bible outside of church. Like ever, like even once. Those people weren't in a group. Yet 67% of the people that were in a group said they read their Bible outside of church. Like it wasn't just a religious thing that they were doing. They actually had a relationship with Jesus. There's a drastic difference there. Listen, my life was changed in a circle. My junior year of high school, I got involved in a small group with some other guys my age, and we were reading the Bible together and praying together and memorizing verses together. That's where my life was changed, was in a circle, because for the first time in my life, my relationship with Jesus wasn't religion, like 1 hour a week. It was a relationship where I was growing in my relationship with Jesus because I was reading my Bible, I was praying, and then I was coming together with other guys and talking about that and discussing that. My life was changed in a circle. It's where Pastor Chris and I got real connected. We had been friends our whole life. We'd known each other since preschool. Our parents were friends in college. But it was in that group, when I started going to that group my junior year of high school, that Chris and I got really connected, and I taught him everything he knows. I'm just kidding. But seriously, that's where we got connected. Spiritually, we were reading the Bible together and pushing each other and encouraging each other and praying for one another. That's where we got connected. My life was changed in a circle. So the first reason why it's special and it's different is because it's where we grow spiritually together. Secondly, it's where we can be real with each other. It's where we can be real with each other. You see, in a group, in a circle, you begin to build trust with other people, and you can be real with one another. You know, we say here, our motto at Experience Life is no perfect people allowed. And we mean that. It means you don't have to come and pretend that you're something you're not. You don't have to come and pretend that you have it all together when you don't. And that's true in our groups too. Now, I know a lot of people are like, man, I don't want to be real with other people. I'm kind of embarrassed about what's going on in my life. I feel like everybody else has it all together, but I don't. I'm the only one that's messed up. Listen, you may have forgotten what church you're at. You're at Experience Life. We are all jacked up, okay? And most of us are jacked up far worse than you are, all right? Including myself. Now, I haven't shared this with the church before or many people before. But 3 to 4 years ago, we were getting ready to start our downtown campus in August 2011, and then January 2012, we were getting ready to start our Amarillo campus. And so about 3 to 4 years ago, we're getting ready for both of these campuses. And in addition to some of the other things I was doing, I began to take on the planting and oversight of our campuses. And so we're getting ready. I know there's 2 campuses coming. And so the spring before that August that we were going to plant the downtown campus, I was feeling really overwhelmed. I was feeling stressed out and had been for a while. And so I started having panic and anxiety attacks where I felt like I couldn't breathe, like my chest was caving in on me, like someone was pushing down on my chest. In fact, there was one time I felt like I was having a heart attack. I couldn't breathe. And I knew I wasn't, though, because I was too young. Well, come to find out, I was having panic and anxiety attacks. I couldn't feel like I could breathe. One night, I went running just to try to get off some stress. And as I was running, I just started to sob. Like as I was running, I was just crying and crying. I got home and I couldn't stop crying, like uncontrollably. My wife was freaking out. She was like, what is going on? Like, what is wrong? So I called Chris and I said, hey man, this is what's going on. I'm struggling right now. This is why. And Chris said, hey, I want you to take the next week off, recover, rest, regroup. Let's try to work on your schedule and figure out what we can do differently so that you don't continue to feel like this. I'm really thankful for a friend like that, pastor like that. But the next person I called was a guy named Mark Cortines. Mark had been in my group for a while at this point. I'd gotten to know him. So I called him. I said, hey, Mark, this is what's going on. I've been struggling. And I shared with him. I was just real with him about what was going on in my life. And it can be really hard for a pastor to be real with people, especially people that go to your church, because you're afraid they're not going to think of you the same way. Maybe they won't look up to you anymore. They'll judge you. I know many of you feel the same way, like you don't want to be real with people. You're afraid they'll look down on you, they'll judge you. But I had grown to have this relationship with Mark by being a part of this group, and so I felt like I could call him and I could be real with him. And you know what happened, Mark? Mark dropped everything, like work and some other things he had going on. He dropped all those things. And he said, hey man, let's go play golf. And he took me to play golf and we just talked and he listened. And you know, Mark didn't judge me, he didn't look down on me. He was just a friend, he was there. I was real with him and he prayed for me and was encouraging me. Him and his wife got together and gave my wife and I some money to get away and to go on a vacation. And they didn't have to do that. We had the money to do that, but they just wanted to bless us. And so they gave us some money to go on a vacation, to get away for a few days. But I built that trust with Mark by being in a group with him. I built trust with the other guys in my group by being in a group with them. And so the next week I went to the group and I shared with them, all of the guys in my group, about what was going on. And they asked me each week after that, like how I was doing, and got regular updates and were praying for me. And we just listened. I could be real with them. You see, going to one of our groups is kind of like going to Vegas. Some of you are like, what? Like, what kind of church is this? Some of you are like, awesome, I'm in a group this week, man. No, you see, when you're in a group and you're real with other people, what happens in the group, what's said in the group stays in the group. It stays there because you're being real with them, they're being real with you, and you build a trust there that it's going to stay in the group. And that's what we're there for. It's to help each other, to encourage each other, which leads into the third thing. So we can support each other. See, circles are important. Circles are special so we can support each other. Check this out. This is Hebrews chapter 10, starting in verse 24. It says this, let us, you get how that's plural? Like, let us think of ways to motivate one another to acts of love and good works, and let us not neglect our meeting together as some people do, but encourage one another, especially now that the day of his return is drawing near. You notice it says, let us motivate each other. Let us encourage each other. Let us spur each other on, like push each other towards love and good deeds. You see, we grow spiritually in the context of let us do this together. It's not me, it's not I motivate myself, I encourage myself, I spur myself on. No, it's let us do this together. You see, we've all been in a place where we've been sad, maybe because we've lost a family member or a friend or a job. We've all been in a place where we've been frustrated, where we've been hopeless, where we felt like giving up. Maybe you've been in a place where you felt like giving up on this whole Jesus thing, giving up on your marriage, your kids, your job, whatever it might be. We've all been there. And listen, when that happens to you, when it happens to me, we comes around me, and I can keep going. We circles around me and I keep following Jesus. You see, being in a group might just save your marriage. It's definitely going to improve it, but it might just save it. I can't tell you how many couples that have been in my groups and been in other groups here at Experience Life that have said, listen, being in a group saved our marriage. We wouldn't be married today if we hadn't have been in this group. I can't tell you how many times I've heard that. That's what happens when we circles around me. That's what happens when we circles around you. When I was a junior in high school, my parents got divorced. You know, a lot of times when that happens to kids and they go through a divorce like the one I went through, which is the judge said had been the longest divorce and the worst divorce he had ever seen up until that point. You know, when kids go through something like that, it tends to turn them away from God, not towards God. They tend to run from God, not towards God. They tend to do stupid things, not right things. Well, my junior year of high school, my parents got divorced, and it just so happened that the semester before, I'd gotten plugged into this small group where Chris was with me. So my parents get divorced, and instead of doing stupid things and running away from God and rejecting God, I ran towards God. You see, even though I didn't feel like it sometimes, even though I didn't want to do this Jesus thing anymore, there was some accountability in my life. There was some we circling around me, praying for me, encouraging me, there for me, and pushing me to keep growing spiritually. We circled around me, and I kept following Jesus. And I made right choices. That's why, by the way, it's so important for you and for your kids to be involved in our e-kids ministry, our youth ministry, where they can be involved in a small group, where they can have people their age connected with them spiritually, that can be there for them, that can circle around them when times are tough or even when times are good, that will encourage them to keep walking with Jesus. And listen, I've been there. I was a kid. I didn't want to go to some of those things. But my mom encouraged me to go and sometimes made me go. I've got kids that are little and they don't always want to go to their class, but I don't always do what my kids want to do. I do what's best for them sometimes. And what's best for my kids, no question, is that they're involved in a small group with other followers of Jesus, their age, that are around them, circling around them, and are going spiritually together with them. You see, they may not realize that's important, but I know it's important. And so I encourage them to do it, and sometimes I make them do it because I know what's best for them. I know it's best for we to circle around me so that they can have that support system. So that's the third reason. The fourth reason is so we can accomplish the mission. It's so we can accomplish the mission. Now you might be thinking, well, what mission? Like what's the mission that I'm supposed to be on? Well, it's the Jesus mission. You see, in Matthew 28, Jesus said, hey, go out and make disciples of all the nations. That's what he told his disciples. So disciples make disciples. And in case you didn't know it, like Jesus isn't satisfied with us just attending a service 1 hour a week. Like, that's not where it ends. That's a great starting point, but that's not Jesus' goal for your life, is to sit in a row and watch. That's not his mission for you. See, your mission as a follower of Jesus, if you're a follower of Jesus, is to make disciples that make disciples. That's not just for pastors. That's for every single one of us that claim to be followers of Jesus. So if you're a disciple, like if you're a follower of Jesus, your mission, Jesus' mission for you, is to make disciples that make disciples. We would be leading you astray if we acted like it was okay to just attend, or if it was just sufficient to attend a service 1 hour a week, and that's what Jesus' goal for you was. It's not. The Bible's clear. Disciples make disciples. And so if you're not in a context like that's putting you on a path to encourage you in that and equip you in that and help you with that, to be a person, to be a disciple that makes disciples, then you're not following Jesus' goal and his mission for your life. About 5 years ago, I started the group that I was leading when I came on staff here at Experience Life. I started a small group and invited some other couples to join me. And so we started with 4 couples. We had a few kids. And we were doing this group, and it grew. And so we sent out a couple, the Collies, to go and start a new group. And so our group started growing and their group started growing again. And so then the Collies planted another group off of them with the Youngbergs and the Gillians. So now we've got 3 groups, and all 3 of those groups are now growing. Then the Youngbergs and the Gillians planted a group off them with the Nobles, and now we've got 4 groups. Like we've got a 4th generation off that original group that I started. All those groups are growing, they're multiplying, and they're starting other groups. And what started with 4 couples and a few kids is now over 200 people involved in all those groups. We call that disciples making disciples. And see, here's the thing. You don't experience all the things that we're talking about today in a row or just by having Christian friends. You may get some of that from having some Christian friends, but you don't get all of it. But where you do experience all these things is in a circle, in a small group. We call them life transformation groups. It's why we say often around here, circles are better than rows. Circles are better than rows, and what we mean by that is they're better for life transformation. They're better for spiritual growth than sitting in a row, because you learn in a row, but you don't grow in a row, and so we say circles are better than rows. You see, if you're gonna be all in with Jesus, you have to be all in with this church. It's not really an option. If you're gonna be all in with Jesus, you have to be all in with this church. And so our third all-in challenge for you is this, it's to circle up. Circle up. Like join a life transformation group, circle up with other followers of Jesus that you're connected to and that you're growing together to be more like Jesus and to stay on the Jesus mission. Circle up. Go all in with Jesus' church. You can go online to our website, experiencelife.now.com. You can find a group that works for you, the day, the life stage that works for you. You can check the box on the back of your connection card that says, I want to join a life transformation group, and one of our leaders will be in touch. But don't just attend church, like circle up and join a life transformation group. Go all in with the church. Maybe there's not a group that works for you in your schedule. And so maybe it's time for you to start a group for you and your friends. And if that's you, just write that on your connection card. And our group's pastor will be in touch with you to help you do that and get that started. But don't just attend and sit in a row. Take your next step, circle up, and get connected with other followers of Jesus. Ed Stetzer wrote in his book, Transformational Groups, we live in a society that is obsessed with autonomous individualism. The idea that all I need is myself and I can make it on my own. This lie keeps people from connecting to one another and is slowly killing their souls. Many of the most influential sins of our culture, pornography, greed, failure to take responsibility, are fostered in the context of radical individualism. If we listen, we can hear the echo of Genesis. It's not good for the man to be alone. God didn't design people to live outside of community. And so when you're not plugged into a community, you're actually rebelling against the way God created you to live this life, to do the Christian life. You see, you were designed to do the Christian life like a sequoia tree, with other followers of Jesus circled around you, helping you grow spiritually, keeping you strong, encouraging you, motivating you. That's how you were designed to do the Christian life. We're gonna have pastors at each location, at each campus, come and share here in just a second about what being in a group has done for them, what impact it's had on their life. So I'm gonna pray, and then they're gonna come share. God, we thank you that you gave us other people to do the Christian life with, that we don't have to do it on our own. And so God, I pray that right now for every follower of Jesus at every one of our campuses, they're saying, I wanna be all in with you, Jesus, but that means they have to be all in with the church. And so Jesus, I pray that you would move in our hearts, inspire us to circle up with other followers of Jesus so that we can grow to look more like you, so that we can stay on the Jesus mission. So God, right now, would you put a desire in every heart to go all in? It's in your name we pray. Amen.
Thanks for checking out one of our messages today. For more information about our church or to watch other messages, you can go to our website at experiencelife.now.com. Let us know if we can serve you in any way, and we hope to see you real soon.